Welcome back to Inquiring Minds. My name is Doug, and thanks for joining me on another Pen Resurrection Sunday. This is part 2 of the resurrection of this 1938 Parker Challenger. You can see part 1 by clicking right up here. In part 1, I showed you how I restored this 86-year-old pen belonging to my friend Lorie Armstrong Paquette. The nib was really twisted and dead. I was able to make the pen as bright and shiny as new, but what's more important is writing again. In today's video, I'll show you how I resacked this pen so it'll hold ink again, and then a few curves the cranky old pen decided to throw at me at the last minute. I'll also show you the return of this pen to Lorie and get her to write with it for the first time since she inherited it from her father when he passed 53 years ago. So let's take a look right now. So all I need to complete this resurrection is my pen, the sack that I finally got. This is a number 16, and they're measured in 64ths of an inch. So that's 16 64ths of an inch in diameter. You figure that out in regular fractions. I don't do math.
Tough guys don't do math. Tough guys deep fried chicken for a living. Pues órale, you want a wing or a leg, man?
I've got some shellac. This little shellac pen from the inky nib. I've got my sack spreader, some scissors, and my little jar of talc. So we'll remove the cap and remove the section. You can see that I've cleaned off all that extraneous shellac that was on there. It was quite well encrusted, and I've sanded it down a little bit so it's got a grippy kind of a surface on it, and that ink window seems to be nice and clear as well. So what we have to do is figure out how much to trim off. So I put this sack in the pen all the way as it will go, and then figure that the section is going to come down to there. And so that means that the sack should come to there. So I'm just sort of eyeballing that. Move it back a little bit to give me a little bit more room. So about there. I'm just going to measure that with my calipers, and we've got about 13.2 millimeters, and that makes it right there. So I'll make a little score with my fingernail on it, where to cut, and we just snip it off right there. And try to get it as square as possible. Now we'll do a test fit. Put the sack spreader on. These with the breather tubes, it's a little bit more difficult because you got to stretch your sack up over the nipple. That's what she said.
I want you to think about it long and hard. That's what she said. Don't you dare.
There we go. Hope you all appreciate my body humor. That's B-A-W-D-Y, not B-O-D-Y. So we put it in, and it doesn't seem to be binding. That's good. I'll pull that off and put it back in, and I can show you how that mechanism works. Push it down in there. Take the blind cap off, and there's our button. And hopefully you can see how that pressure bar pushes up against the sack and then releases. And that should suck up ink. So let's do this for real. Shellac paintbrush, which is like a piston filler, very cool. Dial down a little bit of shellac, which wets that brush. And then we're just going to paint the nipple. Now I keep calling this the nipple on these sections, and because I've heard that's what it's called from other people. But I just received this great big book on pen repair for geeks by Jim Marshall and Lawrence Oldfield. I got this at Pen Tooling, and it was financed by our good friend Bill, who sent me the money for Bill's block and for Bill's burnisher, and now Bill's book. He wrote me that he was really glad that there isn't a tool called balls to work on pens, because it would be called Bill's balls, and I'm not sure that Bill would appreciate that. I suppose it depends on how big they are.
Really? Can you feel the tension in the air right now? I know I can. I can feel it down in my plums. They're getting a nice bluish hue. Getting ready to take them to the farmer's market. Special 2 plums for 1.
And we'll just refresh that shellac after my aside. And then we're going to put our sack spreader on here again, open wide, and here we go. I'll do it for real this time. Try not to get any shellac on that section. Up over the breather tube. And there we go. Now that's nice and straight, and I'm just going to put one more little bead of shellac right there so it fills that gap from leaking. Now we'll let that dry for several hours. I think I'm going to let that dry for about 12 hours. Thank you to Scott from the Inky Nib for giving me this really cool tool. And after 12 hours, we'll come back in the blink of an eye by the magic of video, and I will put a little talc on that sack and we'll reinsert it back and we'll test the pen. So now it's the next day. This is dried up nicely and it's time to put it back in the pen. So we got our talc, open that up, and we'll put a little talc on that sack just to make sure the sack slides nicely inside the barrel without twisting.
And I see your Schwartz is as big as mine. Now let's see how well you handle it. Shit! I hate it when I get my Schwartz twisted.
Just like ink, we close that up so we don't have any accidents. And here we go. Let's put the initials up and then slides nicely inside the barrel. There we go. Now I'm going to test this pen first before I seal that section. And I'll seal that section with some rosin. It's called section sealant here from Anderson Pens. Rosin has a lower melting temperature than shellac does, so it makes it easier to take it off again if we need to. But I'm going to leave that until later. Now, I want to give this a test. Whoops, before we do that, I always forget about doing this first. Let's weigh the pen without ink, and it weighs 10.19 or 10.2 grams. Press tear, then we fill up the pen, remove the blind cap, shiny, almost new button, and we're going to dip the nib into the ink up to the section and push. And we hear bubbles, release, push again. I just repeat this until I hear no more bubbles. Yeah, there are no more bubbles after 2 presses. Put the blind cap back on and then weigh it again. And we got 0.97 or roughly 1 milliliter of ink, which is pretty good. It's a little bit larger than a modern converter. Let's see now is the test.
No, God! No, God, please, no! 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 No!
So I've had to go back to the drawing board because once I inked the pen, the nib, when it's placed in the feed, pushed that one tine up because of that wow that was in this left side right here. It was just way too much. I was worried about ironing that out because I could just see the whole thing breaking. But I had to heat the sack off and pull the nib and feed, and I put the nib back on my block here and really went at trying to get rid of that wave. But mostly I think what did the trick was putting it in the concave side here and really pressing down with my pellet pusher. This is for a Parker Vacuumatic, right on that bump right there, because that bump on the underside of the nib was what was pushing the nib up on the feed. So it wasn't sitting flat. Once I got the nib into the section, the nib wasn't flush with the feed right there. It wasn't allowing any ink to flow. Now, putting it back in the section again, we'll see whether it actually writes. And I think this time going to try to fill the pen and write with it without shellacking this sack down onto the section. It's not what you're supposed to do, but if it actually writes, then it's easy to take the sack back off again, clean the whole thing out, and then put it back on and re-shellac it to the section. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to reinstall this whole thing. I'll do it off camera to make sure that I'm doing it correctly. There, I've got it back in again, and it may not be perfectly straight, but the feed is in contact with the nib and the tines are aligned. And most of that wow is out of there. There's still a little bit right there. But hopefully this will work. So I'm going to put the sack back on. Once I'm ready to go, I'll probably just trim that shellac bit off of there. Make it a little bit shorter, but at least it'll work. So this might leak, but that's not the point. There. I've also had another issue when I've reassembled the pen, and that was that when the section's off, the cap goes all the way down on the barrel, no problem. When the section is in the pen, it only goes a couple of threads, and it was slipping out. It was not actually staying true. It's a little bit wonky over the years. Celluloid does that. But the issue was that this section is riding up against that ledge on the cap seal. And I couldn't see any way of moving that. And so what I did was I sanded some of the barrel off and I sanded the section down. So it removed just very, very, very small amounts and allowed me to hook at least one full rotation of the cap into the pen. So now, second time is the charm, we'll see. Let's fill this pen again. So we're going to try to get some bubbles. Yeah, only takes a couple of pushes. And we have no more bubbles. This will probably leak into the barrel, just to warn you. Take my magnifiers off because I can't see a thing with them. Put my glasses back on. Let's try the pen again. Now this was me trying to make the pen right. If I turned it upside down and pressed down on the nib, it connected that nib with the feed and ran some ink through it. And then I was able to write, but not very well, and it was very scratchy because the tines were misaligned. So let's try this again. Yeah, now we're getting somewhere. That's the way it was writing before. I'll post the pen here. Well, that's just lovely and smooth and wet. That's the way it should be. So I'm going to clean this pen up again and make my presentation to Lorie. And that's coming up tomorrow. So I'm anxious to film that. But dead again, alive again. What do you know? Now that I have the pen back together and writing again, I've decided not to seal the section to the barrel with rosin after all. The section is very tight in the barrel and doesn't budge when writing, so it isn't needed for stability. I've shellacked the sack back onto the section so there will be no leaks. But if the pen should need some attention, it is 86 years old after all, I want to be able to get at it without having to heat the section off again. I know the owner, and she just lives a few blocks away from here, so if the pen decides to play dead again, I can investigate. Since part 1 of this resurrection aired last Sunday, I've received a helpful comment from a viewer. I was corrected on my identification of this pen as a Parker Royal Challenger. It's not. I misunderstood Tony Fishier's website description and thought only the Royal had the wide cap band after 1937, but all of the models, Standard, Deluxe, and Royal, had the wide cap band. The Royal actually has a beautiful herringbone celluloid down the sides of the barrel and has a stepped clip. Really beautiful pen. As to my thoughts on this resurrection, well, this is one of the most satisfying resurrections since I almost completely rebuilt this 1945 Parker Vacuumatic in azure blue. I did the same thing to this nib that was totally foobar and not smooth, and is now a smooth, wet, beautiful stub. I even reshaped the section because someone had chewed it up so badly with pliers. Now it looks lovely and custom. This is now my favorite vintage fountain pen, next to my Schaefer PFM, of course. This pen threw me a few curves, but ultimately I learned that I could get a nib writing again even if the tine tip was missing and one of the tines was twisted like a pretzel. That is some valuable experience that might give me the courage to work on some other gnarly nibs out there.
Oh, gnarly!
Now you're going to be seeing this part of the video that I'm recording right now after I've returned the pen to Lorie and had her write with it. I'm filming that tomorrow. And we're here at Lorie's, and she's laid out a really nice table here with some paper and some ink and a cake for Doug. Yay! And here's Lorie. Hello, Lorie.
Hello.
Good to see you. And this is her husband, Michelle. Hello, Michelle. And this is my Winnie. Hello, Winnie. Hello. And this is me. Hello, me.
Oh, everybody sees you.
Oh, everybody sees me all the time. But she's got some really cool stuff here. This is Murray Anderson.
Armstrong.
Did I say Anderson?
Yeah. Mary Sullivan.
Take two. This is Murray Armstrong right here. Look at that, in uniform. And this is Murray, and what was your mother's name?
Margaret.
Murray and Margaret Armstrong, Lorie's parents. And now I'm going to give the mic and the camera to Winnie. There you go.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God, it's so beautiful.
The nib isn't so beautiful, but it writes beautifully. Let's hope it writes the first time. It's been giving me a little bit of... Oh my God!
Oh my God. Oh man. Oh, it writes beautiful. Oh
And
my
your
God.
handwriting is so gorgeous. Look at that.
Oh my God. Oh, this just means so much.
I'm so happy. I was jumping up and down when it actually wrote for me.
Oh my God. Oh, and it just is so smooth.
Murray Sherwood Armstrong. Beautiful. Now you can post it if you want to, but it has a slight crack
Okay,
in the
I'd
side. So
prefer
if you
not
post,
to,
if you
yeah.
prefer not, then don't.
Yeah, no, I'm not going to. Oh my God.
And
Oh, it's so
I
beautiful.
know you have brought some ink out, some quink, and that will be
Yes.
just fine for this pen.
Okay.
But I have a bottle of vintage. It's not vintage ink, but it's a vintage bottle that actually matches the year of the pen.
Oh my
So
God.
this is Waterman Blue Black.
Yes.
From around 1930, 1940, something like that.
Oh, my
And I put Waterman Serenity, Waterman Mysterious Blue Black.
Oh, it's
in
so
there.
soft. It's
So-
so smooth.
Yes. And the imprint,
Yes.
his initials,
Yes.
were so deep I wasn't worried about losing it at all.
Wow.
And the imprint of the Parker Challenger stayed there too.
Oh my God.
Now I haven't sealed the nib,
Yes.
the section to the barrel,
Yes.
because it threw me a curve just yesterday. Part two was me resacking it, putting a new sack
Oh,
on it,
really?
and then filling with ink
Right,
and all that
right.
kind of stuff. So I did all that, and it's a fairly easy process. And
Yes.
then anything that is easy ends up being a real pain in the
Yeah.
ass, you know.
It's never easy.
Never easy. It's
never easy.
You know, I sealed it all, wait for it to dry overnight, and put it
Oh,
back together.
my.
I went to write with it, and it wouldn't write. And I looked at it, and then the nib had gone wonky again. And I thought, what the hell? Well, I had to
This
take
is
it
so
all apart again
Oh,
and
my
sort of
God.
iron out the nib some more. It was pushing itself off of the feed. But now it's perfect.
It's
So,
beautiful.
And there's an
It's
ink
just-
window there.
Oh,
So you
isn't-
can
is
actually
that
see
what
your
it
ink
is?
levels through it.
Isn't
If you
that?
look up to the light, you can see when you need more ink.
Oh, wow. See, I didn't know what that was even. Well, because
couldn't
of
see
course
it.
I never got to see it because I never wrote.
Yeah, yeah.
It never had
wrote.
ink in it.
And now to ink that pen, what
Yes.
you do is you take off the blind cap.
Is that this?
Yeah, just unscrew the end.
Yep.
And then you put this in the ink. You don't have to do that now because
Okay.
it's full.
Yep.
But when you run out of ink, put it in your quink. It doesn't matter,
Yep.
whatever. And give it a push.
push down?
Fill this up to the section.
Yep.
Right up to the section. Give it a push, and you'll
Yep.
hear bubbles.
Yep.
And then let it go, and wait for a second. Then give it another push.
Yes.
No more bubbles. Let it go. You're
Oh,
full.
wow. Oh, wow. Okay.
And then,
I've never had a button filler before.
And that needs, you need to back it off a little bit. There's one thread on this, and it wants to go wonky.
Okay.
So you back it up until you feel that click. And then
Oh,
you're back
okay.
on.
Then it's on.
Yeah, otherwise it'll cross thread.
Oh, I can't believe.
Yeah, so I have not sealed that nib shut to the barrel because it decided to be temperamental. I thought, well, let's just leave it unsealed for now.
No,
And
that's
if you have
just
any issues,
wonderful.
I can open it up and besides, you're 10
I still
minutes
can't
away,
believe
so-
that you got it to work.
I can't either.
I really.
That's why I didn't say too much.
I'm just.
I'm not going to promise anything. Because that thing was gnarly.
It was so bad.
Yeah.
It was so bad. But in over 50 years, I never gave up.
Yeah.
I never gave up. I always kept it with me. And I thought, no,
Good for you.
somebody somewhere will know how to do this. Oh, look at the clip even, how beautiful it is.
Yeah, it came up, all the gold came up really nicely.
Beautiful. Absolutely gorgeous. Oh, man. This is fantastic. This is so fantastic.
I should tell you also that I was incorrect about my first identification of the pen. I thought it was a 1938 Parker Challenger Royal, and it's not.
Oh, okay.
It's a Parker Challenger.
Oh, okay.
In 1937-38, when this was made,
Yes.
they had changed the entire line of Challengers. There's the Standard, the Deluxe, and the Royal.
Right.
The Royal has a herringbone pattern down it in celluloid.
Okay.
And it's just they changed the cap band to a single cap band, so that's what threw me. But it's not, it's a standard.
I can't believe how smooth it is. I just, the whole body of it.
Yeah,
I
that's all
cannot believe.
celluloid. And beautiful
I can't
celluloid. It
believe.
just comes up beautifully.
It's almost
It's nice to
100
see-
years old.
Nice to see Murray back
yes.
with his pen again.
Yes. There you go, Dad.
Yeah.
There you
Isn't that
go.
nice? Wonderful.
Oh, that's fantastic. Oh my God.
Now let's eat cake.
Okay.
Yay!
Oh, sweetheart, I can't believe you did that.
I can't believe it either. So I'll take this moment to thank Lorie and Michelle for inviting us into their home to film this reunion celebration and for trusting me with Lorie's very special memento of her late father, Murray. And as today is my birthday, I will share with you a couple of birthday presents I got from pen friends. This one, The Quick Brown Fox Jumps Over the Lazy Dog, Panagrams book. This book came to me this morning from pen friend Janice. Thank you very much, Janice. Very generous. And it's your birthday coming up very soon, too, I know. And then there's my hat. You may notice that I've got this vintage hat. I don't know whether this means that I'm vintage or the pens are vintage. Well, both are vintage. But this hat and a number of other lovely presents came all the way from Germany from pen friend and viewer Gabrielle. Thank you so much, Gabrielle, for your wonderful gifts and also your wonderful handmade happy birthday card to me. Thank you so much. Very, very generous. And there you have it. If you like this video, please like and subscribe, and don't forget to ring that bell to get instant notifications whenever a new video is posted. And you can join as a member of my channel for only 99 cents a month, and I guarantee I'll answer your comments in the comment section, and you'll get cool emojis, badges, sneak peek unboxing videos, as well as instant access to my videos the moment I post them. And that just leaves it for me to say thank you for watching. And that's all she wrote.
I made this.